The Digital Production Buzz is brought to you by Blackmagic Design, creators of the world's highest quality solutions for the feature film, post-production, and television broadcast industries. And by Shutterstock.com, a global marketplace for royalty-free images and videos. With over 2 million royalty-free HD and 4K video clips, Shutterstock helps you take your creative projects to the next level. And by Otherworld Computing, providing quality hardware solutions and extensive technical support to the worldwide computer industry since 1988.
Rolling! Action!
Since the dawn of digital filmmaking,
authoritative.
One show serves a worldwide network of media professionals.
Current.
uniting industry experts,
Production.
filmmakers,
Post-production.
and content creators around the planet.
Distribution.
From the media capital of the world in Los Angeles, California, the Digital Production Buzz goes live now.
Welcome to the Digital Production Buzz, the world's longest-running podcast for creative content producers covering media production, post-production, marketing, and distribution around the world. My name is Larry Jordan. Our co-host, Mr. Mike Horton, has the night off. Gesine Thomson is a futurist. She's also a filmmaker and an internationally recognized architect specializing in large-scale community planning. Tonight, she joins us in the studio to talk about the power of media and how it can change cultures. Then we travel to Australia to visit with Grant Burton, a producer and digital analyst for the Royal Australian Air Force. Grant has recently completed courses with a leading cinematographer and shares what he's learned with us tonight. Adrian Belic and his brother Roko were nominated for an Academy Award for their first film, Genghis Blues. Since then, they've created 2 more very successful films, including the international hit Happy. Adrian joins us tonight to discuss the power of media to alter culture. He'll also talk about the Sundance Film Festival and independent distribution. Just a reminder that we're offering text transcripts for each show, courtesy of Take One Transcription. Now you can quickly scan or print the contents of each show as well as listen to it. Transcripts are located on each show page. You can learn more at takeone.tv, and thanks, Take One, for making it possible. Remember to visit with us on Facebook at digitalproductionbuzz.com. We're also on Twitter at DPBuzz, and you can subscribe to our free weekly show newsletter at Digital Production Buzz for an inside look at both our show and the industry. You know, it's interesting. We are here and officially opening our brand new studios. It's a chance to showcase some of what we can do with technology today. And I want to give you a chance, if you take a wide shot and just show you what the studio looks like. It's specifically designed for live podcasts, live webinars, live events, and live newscasts. And the Buzz is going to be bringing you a wide variety of brand new shows now that we've got our studio finally built and online, a situation we thought would take a lot less time than it did. But there's a lot of wires connected into a lot of places to get all this stuff to work. Mike Horton himself has got the night off. He's doing a user group meeting and will be joining us again next week. For now, though, we are going to. This is just so cool because here we are surrounded by all this wonderful gear, and we're going to have Gesine Thomson is going to be our first live guest here in the studio, and we're going to be sharing with her a lot of discussion in terms of the impact that media has in terms of what it does to our culture and how it can change society, and whether or not we should use media to make those changes or simply reflect the changes that are going on. The Buzz is committed to providing you in-depth news on the industry as well as in-depth information on the latest in technology and the latest in filmmaking. The whole idea is to provide a forum and a facility which allows you to stay in touch and keep up to date and keep your skills sharp. That's what the Buzz is all about. We're going to be back with Gesine Thomson right after this. Blackmagic Design is now shipping its Production Camera 4K, a super high-resolution 4K digital production camera for Ultra HD television production. Featuring a large Super 35 sensor with a professional global shutter, it also offers EF and ZE compatible lens mounts and records to a super-fast SSD drive. Capturing high-quality ProRes files, the Blackmagic Production Camera 4K gives customers a complete solution to shoot amazing high-resolution music videos, episodic television productions, television commercials, sports, documentaries, and much more. The Blackmagic Production Camera 4K also features an incredibly tempting price of $2,995. Learn more about the Blackmagic Production Camera 4K that is definitely priced to move. Visit blackmagicdesign.com today. Gesine Thomson is an internationally recognized architect specializing in large-scale community planning, design, and sustainable commercial growth. She's worked on projects in the United States, Africa, China, and many other countries around the globe. She lectures extensively on design, large-scale community planning, and the creative process. She's also a filmmaker, a director with an eye toward the future. We're talking with her today about the power of media and how it can change cultures. Welcome, Gesine. Good to have you with us.
Thank you, Larry. I guess 3 is a charm because twice on radio, today in person, and actually meeting you for the first time.
Oh, you are so
in person.
kind.
And
Well,
I'm really glad what I see.
now that we see you, I'd have you back on in video much sooner than we did. And this is our premiere first broadcast, and you're on it, and they're our first guest. I am
Wow.
so delighted.
Me too.
I was just thinking, you've got a widely varied background. Where did you start first? Was it in film or architecture?
In architecture.
Doing what?
Well, I grew up in a family. I'm the 5th generation architect in my family, first woman. And I didn't know I was an apprentice with my father when I was 8 years old because I loved going to the projects with him. And so when I started studying, actually I had a lead on everybody else because I kind of knew what was going on, and I've loved it. Really loved it. And why I started to also involve film into my process of architecture is because in large-scale architecture work, you deal with government officials and with decision makers which necessarily have no idea how to read plans, but they will not say that they don't. So looking into a media that would give us the possibility to show what we're trying to do, especially since we are influencing communities on a very large scale sometimes, because city planning is big time. And so it was very necessary that they understood what we are committing to. And so I started filmmaking as well.
Well, what is it about architecture that appeals to you? Is it sitting in a room designing, drawing the lines and figuring out where stuff goes? Or is it working with the politics and the government officials to make it possible? Or is it on-site watching the idea that you had in your head become reality?
Well, that's a powerful thing, to actually have a creation that you thought up and then see it emerge and become a reality. But that's not really why I love it so much. I love it because I love people and I love nature. And through architecture, you can really serve very well people. And, actually, architecture and filmmaking isn't that far apart, because everything is creating out of light and shadows, and what fascinates me is creating space, either interior space. Look, you have a fantastic studio here. That's brand new. And it's the space that makes and influences everything that gets done here, if you want it or not, because it is. The height, the depth, the proportion, and responsible architects can really use that very well. So, for instance, I can say that you influence the well-being of people in what kind of circumstances you put them within the city design or in their building design. There's a reason why city structures that are iconic have the size they have, either in height, in width, because it has impact on the human being, and including in hospitals or in prisons or something, you will absolutely design the rooms in order to keep the people calmer, or you have really influence. In restaurant design, for instance, you can design in a way that you have an impact of how often the table changes. So that's the power of design. And I do feel that the media and architecture have great impact on the social condition.
Now, why do you think that?
Well, because both is highly responsible, I think. And it's a matter of which choice you make. Let's say in architecture, you can make the choice to become a developer's architect or an architect who serves the people. It's a whole different story.
How are they different?
Because an architect who is a developer architect will always push, the limits by putting more units in, lesser environmental, recreation, all of these kind of things, because they cost money. And a social responsible architect will not do that. He will fight every step for larger parks, for everything that gives a possibility for anybody in this space to actually thrive. And it will also keep the criminal situation down. You really have an enormous impact. Color, sound. For instance, good design can, in airports, when it's really well done, people that are hearing or seeing impaired have a possibility to find their way, because how the rooms are structured, the ceiling heights of what it bounces off, etc., that's good architecture. Yeah. So in media, I think you have a choice too. You either make projects that are becoming a very positive influence on, and I like very much to say, positive situations with not so well done projects that have been chosen in countries. Look, I work all over the world. I work on 4 continents in all kinds of cultures, and I take that very serious. It's a high responsibility. I love it though, because it is an adventure, it's an exploration at all times. And when people really ask me what I do, I'm an explorer. Yeah, that's what I do. And then I bring that somehow to the table in the design that the governmental and decision makers can allow to make happen, and including the iconic structures that we are known for, that we tailor-make out of the roots of a country. I like traditions, and all the different ways you experience with the skin and with your smell and with everything. Anyway, I'm very excited about what I do.
But let's just back up a step. I can understand being excited about creating sustainable communities and designing a community where lots of people can live and feel safe and feel like this is home.
Yeah.
But I'm having a hard time tying out your comments about media.
Okay.
So let's just think about this for a second, because there's multiple different roles that media can play. It could be a news report, it could be a feature film, it could be a documentary. When you're saying media, what are you referring to?
Every media, because media to me is storytelling. And you know what? Everybody has to make a choice of what kind of a storyteller he is.
Oh, yes, but let me wait. No, you can't say that. No, because think about the stories that your family likes hearing the most. It's not the stories of, gosh, I woke up this morning, I had a great breakfast, I had a good nap. Those stories are dull and boring and nobody wants to hear. They want to hear stories about where you missed the flight or you're being chased by wild boars in the continent of Africa. They want to hear where life is in jeopardy. They don't want to live that situation. They just want to hear about the situation. Good stories have got drama.
Oh, I'm not saying drama. Drama can be, life is drama from morning to evening. And you need to have courage actually to get through the day. Everybody has to have courage to get out of bed, in a way. I mean, so therefore, I think, that's not the case. Let me give you some examples.
Go ahead.
I like to start with very positive examples. The positive examples are, for instance, there has been a movement started by a man called Michael Flatley. He was known only in one way, and that was he had the fastest feet on earth to dance with, and that was Irish dance, okay? So he wanted to really influence the world in making that dance popular. What did he do? He went to Ireland, back from the United States, and won actually the Eurovision with River Dance that he helped create with a composer together. Out of River Dance came Lord of the Dance, Feet of Flame, all kinds of things. But you know what really happened? Millions and millions of girls in the age from 6 to 16 started dancing Irish dance. It flooded the world. And you know what? I think it made puberty much easier for lots of parents and girls, yeah? But it was somebody who knew he could do something well, and he just loved his Irish heritage, and he brought it positively around the world. There's another example, and that are the brothers Roko and Adrian Belic. They made the movies that they have made, but they made one movie that had real impact in the world and continuously does so. It is called Happy, in search of what makes people happy around the world. This film has become very popular. And you know what it resulted in? In a very positive thing. In Happy Day, a global happy day. I mean, that's I call good media.
Well, we're going to be talking with Adrian Belic a little later in this show, so I want to find out from him whether he planned it that way or whether it just happened. But with your films, how are you, when you're creating a film, are you trying to document one of your big projects, or are you trying to do more than that?
Well, actually, it's really interesting, and it started in presenting the way people would live in the areas that we are designing. But then I got hooked on filmmaking, and you know how that goes. So all of a sudden there's a little story here, there's, you try out to make some vignettes, and because I travel all over the world, I had access to some camera teams, and then I got really fascinated in telling, again, stories that are impacting cultures or came out of culture. And I started to actually meet people. They were so interesting that I couldn't stop not to talk to them. And then it went into actually become very ambitious, and have started to do really a feature film.
So are you
and it will be called Dare to Dream.
called?
Dare to Dream. It will be called Dare to Dream.
So you've given up on architecture, no more buildings?
No. Not at all. I have a full-fledged, I do everything. No, you know what? Once you're creative and you have, I don't know, I have a lot to do. I love to do things and try it out. I need a challenge. That's what it is. But Larry, let me also tell what I see when media is not used well.
Okay, give me an example.
Well, I have projects in Bhutan. The king of Bhutan and Rinpoche are clients, and so I go to Bhutan quite a bit. Bhutan is a strictly Buddhistic country, dedicated to happiness. The World Bank came in and decided to offer Bhutan to build a road that they really needed and wasn't there. And I mean, we're talking, the Himalayas, big time stuff. I think they have 6 of the highest mountains in the world in their country. So they needed a road from one end to the other, and the World Bank said, yes, we're going to build it for you under 2 conditions. You need democratic election system, but secondly, you need to allow media to come into the country, speak television, which was the king had decided not to have in there. He decided it was really good for his people to have a better way of have access from one end to the country to the other. 600,000 people live there. Happy people, really, I'm stunned. They really are pursuing happiness. And I've seen, and so the road got built, and also electric, wires were laid at the same time. I have come back to the country. It is amazing how it has changed, because television is gone into the main areas, not into the mountain regions, but to Thimphu, which is the main city, etc. You know what I see? I see people that start to be unhappy, young people who have no idea what they want to do, and thirdly, first-time criminality has come into the country. I like to give a second example. Point Hope, my feature film brought me to Alaska because part of the movie is shot there. And we went to Point Hope, which is really next to Santa Claus, practically, just totally up in the north. And the mayor was, helping us with the situation. And so we had discussions with him how this impacted the Inuits, his people. And he said, media is ruining our people. They are starting to be really unhappy of the way they live. We're having, they used to live in one woman, situation. They want to go away. They don't. It's very different, So all of a sudden, again, he says, we never had criminality here, and now we do.
But does that mean that all we should do is talk about that which is cheerful and happy and ignore sad news?
No.
What should we do?
It's life. It's life. But I think it's a difference if you are hyping it. And if it's always done with this, and it's the biggest snowstorm ever, rather than saying, be prepared, it's a different story. And I wonder. I think the tone makes the music.
So have a tone of what?
Positivity. I think you give it. I think that is what it is, to always see that the glass is half full. It's not half empty.
If we do that, are people going to watch? Or do people watch train wrecks? They don't watch happy news.
Well, I have to say, if you go to Europe, people really watch a lot of educational movies. And you know what? They know where Dallas is, in which state, and they know where Maine is, and they know where, that Anchorage is the main place in Alaska. it is not necessarily the case if I have a project in Montana or something, and I ask them, where is so-and-so, and they say in Canada.
Understand. Where can we go on the web to keep track of you? What's your website?
It is GT for my initials, GTbydesign.com.
And Gesine Thomson is the GTbydesign.com. Gesine, thanks for joining us today.
Thank you, Larry. I am so thrilled to be the first on your show, and I wish you all the best for the future.
Finding the perfect royalty-free image or video for your creative project can be a crucial step in the filmmaking process. And whether it's for your website, publication, or video segment, the experts at Shutterstock.com can help you choose from over 2 million royalty-free HD and 4K stock video clips, including time-lapses, aerials, green screens, and model-released clips. Sourcing over 12,000 brand-new video clips each week, Shutterstock consistently offers the highest quality stills and video clips from professional filmmakers. Plus, Shutterstock provides sophisticated search engine tools so you can search and drill down by category, clip resolution, contributor name, and more. Also, use their great no-risk try-before-you-buy options so you can see how their clips will look in your project before making a single purchase. Try Shutterstock today. Sign up for a free account. No credit card is needed. And as an added bonus to you, enter promo code BUZZ2014 before December 31st to receive 25% off any footage package. Discover Shutterstock.com. That's Shutterstock.com. Grant Burton has been creating training videos for the Royal Australian Air Force for almost 20 years, where he's now a producer and a digital analyst. He began as a member of the RAAF and now works for the military as a civilian. Hello, Grant. Welcome.
Good afternoon, or good evening, or good morning, wherever you
You know, it's hard to tell, Grant. I give up on trying to figure out what the time is. How are you this fine day, and how is Australia treating you?
Oh, jolly good. As alluded to, I've been absolutely flat out with a lot of work lately, but there's never enough time for training, it would seem. So I decided, while working flat out over Christmas, I decided to enroll myself to do summer film school. It's been 30 years since I went to film school, so I figured it might have been time that perhaps I learnt from people far more professional than myself and see what I've been missing.
Well, you know, before you talk about the film school, tell us what got you involved in training in the first place?
Very early on, when I started my career when I was in the Air Force, I originally just did things like promo videos, air show videos, pretty things for public relations. But quickly, it established itself that video training was a easy, quick way to communicate complex ideas and complex types of training in a visual medium without having to resort to all sorts of fancy computer graphics and things like that. And I started out very early doing that, and then of course it went on from aircraft, and then it seemed to expand itself into all sorts of stuff, from scenario-based learning to workplace, occupational health and safety, you name it. It's A to Z of type of training now, but originally started with aircraft, and now it's everything.
Well, you've been doing training for 20 years, give or take a little bit, from a training point of view, not from a technology point of view. But has training changed over that time?
Yeah, absolutely. We've gone from what we probably would have known when we went to the school of known as chalk and talk. Though I don't think chalk actually exists anymore. I'm not sure. It probably does. But anyway, I guess it's 4 colours of the whiteboard these days. But yeah, we've gone from that, and I think we all remember sitting in schools probably being bored by a 16mm film being shown when the teacher used to fall asleep and the students used to do the same. To now where it's a lot more interactive. It can be produced by. In fact, I'll give you one example. The way training, a lot of training that we can deliver now is students actually make their own training. give you an example that, say, students are told to go and make a video, and they go, well, how do I make a video? Now, 10 years ago, if you asked this question, you go, what equipment do I need? Basically, everyone carries the equipment in our pocket these days, believe it or not, to actually shoot and edit and upload video. Most smartphones of any type of brand can actually do that. So students are encouraged to make a topic. Here's the topic. Form teams, do this. And this is even what we were doing at film school. Even if we didn't have advanced equipment, here's the topic, here's the script, here's the treatment. Go ahead and need this by 9 o'clock tomorrow. So 2 a.m. you're still editing on whatever equipment you've got and whatever. But it was a way of collaboratively approaching and coming up with ideas. And why did you shoot this way? This way? And it can be done same for scenario-based learning. If you want to force the rules of some sort of policy or something, make a 2-minute video on how this is important, and you come back with 6 different ideas, and it's a great way of students learning with each other and also learning the technology at the same time, regardless of whether they're in filmmaking or not. You're teaching the teachers of tomorrow how to use the technology of today to deliver interactive or video-based training. So it works in a sort of 360 circle in that respect.
Well, now we can shift forward because you decided to go to film school. Tell me, who was the instructor and what did they cover?
We did have a number. We had a number of different instructors. My main one I had for the first week, it was a guy called John Brawley. He may not be known that much to American audiences. He's very much known to Australian audiences. He's been doing cinematography now for over 20 years, a lot of Australian TV drama. I think he has actually done some American stuff as well, but he's done a lot of feature stuff as well. Very gifted, I put it, man to instruct, not just in the art of cinematography, but the art of a way I guess a medium production budget television program would be done. That was completely enlightening for someone who's been pretty much a solo or small team producer for the last 30 odd years. I had a concept in my mind, and we all see credits on television going, I wonder what a Grips does. I wonder what that does. I wonder what Best Boy actually... I totally know now what those people really are, and the interaction and the hierarchical arrangement of that was fascinating, because we did participate with real people producing a little 2 or 3 minute script, which took us 2 days, with those people, with grips, with lighting teams, with sound teams. I even learned what a focus puller does. I had no idea until I went that there's actually someone dedicated just to pull focus. Amazing. I never knew that. That's when oh, wow, how did he not know that? Well, I do now.
As you think about it, aside from discovering all the different people and all the different jobs that are necessary to make a film, from a training and from your job point of view, what's a key takeaway? What did you learn?
I think we all know there's more than one way to achieve a goal, and I think that was the big takeaway from the first week I did cinematography, the next week it was low budget filmmaking, and the last week I did 3 weeks of it was documentary and interview filmmaking, which was I originally thought I wasn't going to find that fascinating. I found that deeply fascinating, the way a documentary film producer produces these things with passion and no money. It's quite amazing. But, all the documentary filmmakers said, if you're coming in to make documentary filmmaking for money, you're in the wrong job because you won't. But it's a love of passion, and that's what I took away. It's passionate people, and while one cinematographer would say, this is the way I would do this scene, and this is how I'd convey this mood, and this is what cinema space is, and learning all the rules that I'd long forgotten about, screen space and screen presence and motivation behind the camera. So many topics in there I could possibly fit in this interview. But the biggest thing I took away is, especially when you're solo like myself, or even work in small teams, you come very insular. We're creatures of habit as humans. We like patterns, we like habit, and we fall into that even in this industry, and you can't, because the industry changes so much. But artistic and creative natures that we all are, especially in this industry, it's an artistic talent that you must have. It has to keep evolving, and not just because the technology keeps evolving, but in order to stay fresh, to stay current, to stay valid, and especially people who are looking for contracts on a weekly basis, monthly basis, have got to keep those skills current and fresh and innovative, otherwise you just don't get hired. And so the training for me, the takeaway was that it's so many different ideas out there. Unless you collaborate physically, you can do a lot on the internet. And notice we've all done online training, but actually being in a room with other people and discussing ideas in an open, free, non-judgmental sort of environment, without sort of bosses looking over and saying, this is the template I want you to produce things in, not having any of that, just free and creative expression of not just ideas, but how to produce an end result. You take away from it and go, oh, right, I've never actually thought about lighting a scene this way, or having this approach to this particular training problem, or this particular type of technology could be used if you don't have this, coming with all sorts of alternatives. Unless you go looking for that in the internet, and often, well, how do you know what to look for if you don't know what you're looking for, sort of thing? It's one of those. But if you're in a group of people who are all very creative, passionate, enthusiastic artists, and I use that word quite seriously, they are artists, and I guess I am too, but it just leads to so much exchange of ideas. You just go, wow, this is just things I hadn't thought. So
keep going. We're listening.
That's okay. So that's the big thing. That's why I think anyone who thinks that I did film school 10 years ago, what learn.
It sounds, however, like the class was really helpful in terms of discovering what you needed to know that was new, and help you to focus on the skills that you can use to create new training that models modern production techniques. True?
Absolutely. Yeah, that's it in a nutshell. Yeah.
And Grant Burton is a producer and digital analyst for the Royal Australian Air Force. And Grant, thanks for joining us today. Take care.
All right, thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
When you're working with media, one thing is essential. Your computer needs peak performance. However, when it comes to upgrading your Mac, there are so many different options to choose from that the process can be confusing. That's why Otherworld Computing carries the best upgrades that lets your computer performance and storage grow as your needs grow. Since 1988, OWC has become one of the most trusted names in quality hardware and comprehensive support to the worldwide computer industry. With an extensive online catalog of Mac, iPhone, and iPad enhancement products, as well as a dedicated team of knowledgeable experts providing first-rate tech support, OWC has everything you need to take your current system to the next level. Whether you need to maximize your system's memory, add blazing speed, or enhance reliability, look no further than the friendly experts at OWC. Learn more by visiting macsales.com today. That's macsales.com. The first film that Adrian Belic and his brother Roko created after college was the Academy Award-nominated Genghis Blues. His follow-up films were the multi-award-winning Beyond the Call and the international success Happy. This week we've been looking at the impact of media, and I'm interested in getting his perspective on the role his media plays in society. Hello, Adrian. Welcome.
Larry, good to be with you. Thank you.
You know, I was just reflecting, the first time you and I talked was 4 years ago, almost exactly to this day, when you were just getting ready to release Genghis Blues. And now, look at you. You are world famous, and people mob you whenever you give presentations. That's congratulations on a wonderful career.
You're very kind. My brother and I work very hard with it, and we work with great people like yourself and Serena, your producer, and it's a great ride. We're honored to be part of it.
Well, I want to talk about your film Happy in just a bit, but you were also at Sundance recently. What were the highlights that you discovered there?
I'm actually still at Sundance, and one of the reasons why my voice is so scratchy, I lost it a couple days ago with so many fascinating conversations that go on here. Sundance has been amazing again. I've also been hanging out at the Slamdance Film Festival, which is the renegade festival to Sundance that happens here at Park City at the same time. I mean, I'm a documentary guy. I love fiction films, but there's nothing like documentaries to capture my heart and inspire me. And there have been some absolutely stunning documentaries. I mean, literally, I've been reading some of the reviews from the people who've come back to Hollywood and New York and London. They've gone back home from Park City, Utah. And again, I think it's the documentaries that have taken the lion's share of the buzz and that talked about films. And geez, how many films? I can't even tell you how many I've seen, but some that have stood out to me have been, from really unique films like The Russian Woodpecker, on an extraordinary Ukrainian artist, to Pervert Park. These two first-time filmmakers, they read an article, and they were in Scandinavia about a small little place in Florida, and were compelled to make a documentary. It took them 4 years to make it. How to Change the World, an amazing documentary about the founding of Greenpeace, but it was also a cautionary tale of what can happen when you dream big and actually succeed. And then films like Cartel Land, just contemporary films about what's going on in the borders of the United States and Mexico, and done in these cinematic ways where it goes beyond journalism to where it's really about the human story, and you actually empathize with both sides of the story. It goes beyond black and white, right or wrong, into the heart of what it is to be a human and try to make it on this planet. So extremely inspiring weekend again in Park City.
Well, I was just thinking, you've spent all this time at Sundance and watched all these films. What's the value to filmmakers to attend an event like Sundance if they don't have a film in competition?
It's amazing. It's like every year there's a few places in the world that I make it to no matter what's going on in my life. One of them is here to Sundance, and the reason is because it's such an incredible gathering of extraordinary people in a very small place. Everybody is far outside of their normal hustle and bustle comfort zones of mostly big cities around the world. And you just get to sit down and speak with people and listen to people and be inspired by them. And there's really, yes, you hear all the kind of hype about how there's, list-only parties and things like that. The great thing about the little city of Park City up here in the mountains above Salt Lake City is that it's a small ski town. You walk down the street and you bump into people. You bump into people sitting waiting for the buses or in the coffee lines or things like that, or in the lines waiting for the movies, because pretty much every movie is sold out and you're waiting in line. And so it's this really friendly atmosphere where you can just turn to a person next to you and go, hey, how you doing? What are you here for? And you start sharing stories about films or lives or passions or one's endeavor. And it's an extremely inspiring place to be every year for however long, a few days, a week, 10 days.
Is it exciting because it's the films that you're watching and the ideas that are in the film, or is it exciting because of the people that you're meeting?
See, it's both. That's what makes film festivals still such an amazing place to be to watch film. Because, these days with video on demand and streaming, you can literally be anywhere on the planet that you can get an internet connection. You can see pretty much anything you want at any time. But still, we are humans. We want face-to-face connection. We want to know about the creative experience and meet the people behind the creations. And so coming to a festival like Sundance, that pretty much every single film has at least one or two people involved in the film there that you can speak with them. You can hear about their struggles, their successes, the lessons they've learned. So it's both the films and the filmmakers. And then also speaking with the fans. People come from all around the world here. So the discussions after the films are fascinating because you just don't get an LA perspective or a Chicago perspective or a Fresno perspective. You get a London perspective. You get a Buenos Aires perspective, South African perspective, Chinese perspective. It's such a great place to share and learn and create and become inspired.
Well, Grant Burton, who was in the segment before, is on our live chat, and he writes that face-to-face meetings between creative minds can't be beat, and it sounds like you would agree.
I completely agree. These days, technology is incredible. Look, you and I speaking right now, and your audience listening. I'm in Park City, Utah, strolling through the Treasure Mountain Inn hotel looking for a quiet spot, frankly. And you're there broadcasting around the world, and there he is in Australia communicating with you. It's incredible, and Skyping and all that stuff. But when it comes to the creative process, there's certain nuances, certain unspoken things that we communicate with that technology cannot yet convey. And there's nothing beats looking someone in the eye, catching their small facial expressions, whether it's their vibe or the scent they're putting off, things like that, to give you more of an insight of what they're thinking, what their desires are, what their fears are, what their hopes are, that enable one to create things beyond sort of painting by numbers, but really about the passion and the heart of trying to convey a story, trying to connect people trying to make people feel something.
Well, in our first segment, Gesine Thomson was talking about the film that you created called Happy. And before we talk about its role in society, which she and I spent time talking about, tell us first what the film is.
Yeah, Happy is a simple film that my brother and I made with great support from our dear friend Tom Shadyac. It's a simple film. The idea was, what makes people happy? And so what we did is we went around the world and we interviewed most of the leading scientists in the field of positive psychology. And what fascinated us in the research of this kind of stuff is that it has moved away from the social sciences. A part of it has, this kind of happiness, positive psychology used to always be in the realm of social sciences, psychology, sociology, things like that. What fascinated us is that over the past decade, and even before, but it's really accelerating in the past decade, hard science has come into the field of positive psychology. So neurology, brain chemistry, chemicals in your blood, and we're able to test these things in empirical ways and retest them through scientific methods to discover what are the different things that we do or think about in our daily lives that affects our happiness, and what are the biofeedback signals of that kind of state of mind. And so happiness is the science of happiness. And my brother and I, we really don't do issue-oriented films. We don't really do talking heads. We do character-driven films. So we went around the world to 6 of the 7 continents and looked at happiness from different cultural angles. And we wove the science and the practice of the science and practice of happiness together in this film called Happy.
Why did you decide to make the film?
Well, it was sort of a collaborative idea. Our dear friend Tom Shadyac, my brother was talking with him one day, and we were talking about, why Tom Shadyac is a very big Hollywood director and producer of big Hollywood films, all the Jim Carrey films, and Nutty Professor, and Ace Ventura, and Bruce Almighty. And, he grew up fairly humble, made it to the absolute pinnacle of the A-list of Hollywood directors, had all the money in the world, had all the influence, had all the power, hung out with all these kind of top people who should be happy. Our society says the more money you make, the more powerful you are, the more influential you are, the more known you are, the more happy you will be. And literally he looked around, and he was living in this giant mansion, he looked around, and the happiest people he was with were his gardener and his maid, who smiled at him every day, genuinely asked him how he was feeling, and genuinely shared how happy they were about their life. And he thought, this doesn't make any sense. And my brother was talking with him, and we started talking about happiness. He said, look, I do fiction films. I don't do documentaries. But we need to put this kind of information out in the world. Because we talked about things that we've read and the way we live our life. And said, look, you guys make this film. I'll help you with it, and let's put something better into the world. And that's how Happy happened. Well, that in 4.5 years of hard work, but by no means an overnight success. But yeah, it was just a conversation, a couple looks into each other's eyes, some pondering, brainstorming sessions, and we started on the path. And it's 4.5 years of effort, and there's Happy, and it's now gone around the world. We created a World Happy Day 3 years ago on February 11th, and on that day we screened Happy in over 500 cities in over 60 countries on all 7 continents. And why did we do that? 1, because we had an idea, and 2, because we worked our ass off, and 3, because a lot of people from around the world wanted to be part of this. We didn't pay anybody. We said, hey, we're doing this thing. Would you be interested? And, frankly, there were a bunch of people who said, no, I'm too busy. I don't have the time. I don't get it, whatever. But enough people, part of being successful is a numbers game. That's enough people, hey, do you want to be part of this? We want you to be part of this. And they said yes, and we were able to create World Happy Day. The screenings, and then the film has kind of taken an air of its own. I think we're subtitled now in somewhere over 20, 25 different languages. We only subtitled it, I think, in 11 ourselves, and the rest was just crowdsourced. People saw the film in whatever language it was subtitled in and said, hey, I want to have my people in my country be able to enjoy this film, so they just crowdsourced the subtitling of it.
Do you sit and think about the impact your film is going to have when you're getting ready to design it, or do you look for a story? What's driving you when you create a title? I mean, I'm looking at Genghis Blues and Beyond the Call as well as Happy, and each one of those have had a significant impact on society. Is this something that's even in the back of your mind as you're putting a film together?
It's funny. Just you saying that, I get chills because when my brother and I make our films, we believe in them. We do see a vision for them, but you never know. And so what we try and do is we do what we can do and what we can do well, and that is be authentic, be sincere, be true to the story, be true to the characters, be true to our vision. Be clever, be smart, bring talented people around us who help on consulting on the film, help with our editing and things like that. And we hope, we do have a vision. We do look, I talk to some filmmakers, I'm like, oh, this is such a good idea. And I just ask them, just a matter of fact, where do you think this film could go? And they're like, oh, I don't know. And they have no vision for it. Yeah. Every time we make a film, no matter how obscure it is, like Genghis Blues, tube and throat singing, a blind blues guy, we always have something in our heart, something in our spirit that we're like, I think this can go global. I don't know how it's going to go, like in terms of the entire journey, but I know how it's going to go in the next 2 stages because those are within our control. We can shoot it, and we can edit it. Then we can try and get it to the most prestigious festivals we can. Then we can try and get a coalition around to support it. Then we can get some press. Then we can bring in sort of different organizations where this film could be of service. And slowly but surely, the film begins to grow and begins to go around the world. One of the things, is one of our fundamental things we think about. We never think about what someone can do for the film. We're always thinking, how can our film be of service to you? To your festival, to your school, to your company, to your community. How can this film help you? How can this film be of service to you? I think that has kind of helped the trajectory of our films and kind of the breadth and scope of where our films have gone in the world. It's always how can this, what we do, and it's served us well, that and a lot of help from a lot of people.
I was just reflecting, all 3 of your films have been successful, and that means that you have got a pretty good handle on the whole idea of self-distribution. What are some of the secrets that you use to get your films heard and seen and then successfully distributed?
Pardon me, I lost that last little bit. Heard and seen and what? And
successfully distributed.
I just ran upstairs to get out of the noise of the Treasure Mountain Inn here from a panel at Slamdance that was all about this. And there's some amazing filmmakers. Some of the things that we do is that, one, like my brother and I, our parents are from communist Europe, tiny little countries. We grew up totally alone in this big country of America, just a little tiny nuclear family. So since we were little, we always had to reach out to other people to get an ice hockey team together, help us climb trees or whatever we want to do. And so one of the core things we do is we always reach out to organizations that we think could resonate, enjoy, that this film could be of service. And what that does is that by engaging, the head of outreach or the head of community service or whatever it is, or the head of an organization, by getting them involved in the film, that kind of momentum cascades throughout that organization. So that's one thing. We sort of leverage our communications with people. Another thing, what I said was we're always thinking not what can someone do for the film, but how can the film be of service to somebody else. One of the key things, we have fun with our distributions. We think of all kinds of goofy ideas. We have no fear of failure. We come up with some crazy slogan or poster or jingle on the radio or something, and it falls flat. We apologize, and we say, ladies and gentlemen, please tell us, what we can do. And people want to be part of these things. We're lucky. We make films. Films are cool. They're sexy. People want to be part of the movie, and Hollywood has done all the heavy lifting for over a century now, making films cool. People want to be part of it. So what we do is we try and figure out ways that people can engage and be part of the film. Everyone that has ever tweeted about our films or spoken about our films or had it screening at their house, we say thank you and welcome to the team. We appreciate it. So it's a lot of sort of grassroots engagement. People say, oh, you can just e-blast people. You can't e-blast people. Everyone's doing that these days. You have to connect with them. You have to find out what they want to do, what are their desires, their aspirations, and figure out how our films can be of service to that. And, we do that across all platforms in all ways, face-to-face and global. But I think those kind of philosophies and the way we approach distributing our films have served it well because we do it in service of other people. And so, those are the fundamentals. Those are the behind-the-scenes kind of secrets of how we approach stuff. The rest are details, whether it's Twitter that we use or Facebook or whatever. those are the details. You know, we move with the times. We've been doing this 15 years, so.
Well, it sounds to me that what your real goal is to find a community that resonates with that film, and then just keep growing that community of friends who then serve as a megaphone to help tell the world that your film exists. It's all about setting up a connection with potential audience attendees. Is that true?
Completely. And the thing is, and then we grow, you know, if we're screening our film in Jackson, Mississippi, you know, we get some lucky break and someone screens our film in Jackson, Mississippi, and we happen to be there, or we're talking to the audience over Skype. You know, at some point there, so ladies and gentlemen, it's been such a great time being in Jacksonville, Mississippi. Where else in Mississippi can we screen it, or in the South? We love the South. And people just raise their hands and, oh, you should screen in Mobile, Alabama. Oh, you should screen in this town and that town. And we're like, ladies and gentlemen, we'd love to screen them. Who do we talk to? Oh, my uncle, he owns a theater. Or my auntie, she's a publisher for a small newspaper. She'd love to write an article. You know, what kind of communities would like to? And I'm just a dumb boy from Chicago. I know nothing about the South. Tell me who in the South would like to see this film. And people just want to be part of it, and they share this information, and then they are part of it. We're like, how about you and I have that screening in Mobile, Alabama? They're like, me? I can't do that. Like, yes, you can. I want you to come up on stage and tell us why, you know, you like this film. And get people involved and have fun with it. So,
Adrian, slow down. You know, it's terrible to talk to somebody that's not at all enthusiastic about their projects. Where can people go on the web to learn more about you and your films?
You're kind. Probably the best website is our main film website, and I'll say it now. It's old and it's dilapidated. If anyone wants to help us make it better, we'd love to talk to you. It's www.wadirum.com.
That's all one word, WADIRUM, wadirum.com. And Adrian Belic and his brother Roko are filmmakers. Adrian, thanks for joining us today.
Larry, thanks so much.
Take care. Bye-bye. One of the cool things that we've got going on with our new studio is the ability to involve you in our presentations, which is what I want to talk about a little bit with you now. We are going to be posting video as well as audio. So for those of you who have been watching the BuZZ or listening to the BuZZ for years on audio, can now have the choice of listening to it in audio, because we're going to be continuing that, both a live audio stream and a live video stream, as well as posting the audio to iTunes and posting the video to a brand new channel, which will show up next week, which is the Digital Production BuZZ on YouTube. Here on YouTube, you'll be able to see not only the entire show, but you'll be able to watch individual interviews. Our thinking is that some people enjoy listening because they're exercising or walking around, and other people would prefer to actually look at the guests that we're interviewing. So we're going to be doing more and more video work, inviting people like Gesine into the studio to be able to chat with them face-to-face, so you get a chance to not only hear what they have to say, but see them as well. This idea of expanding is going to continue as we roll out some new products as part of the BuZZ, which will be coming a little bit later in the next several months. Also, the BuZZ is going to be taking its video cameras to NAB, and we're going to be broadcasting audio and video from NAB, which is going to be a change from the last 6 years of coverage. Video becomes a really important component of what we're going to be doing for you in 2015, and I'm always interested in your comments. I want to thank our guest today, Gesine Thomson, filmmaker, futurist, and visionary architect, Grant Burton, producer and digital analyst for the Royal Australian Air Force, and Adrian Belic, Academy Award-nominated independent filmmaker. There's a lot of history in our industry, and it's all posted to our website at digitalproductionbuzz.com. You can also talk with us on Twitter at DPBuzz and Facebook at digitalproductionbuzz.com. We've got brand new theme music, which we're all excited about. We premiered it this evening. It's composed by Nathan Doogie Turner, and delighted to have him give a hand at making us sound more up-to-date. Additional music provided by smartsound.com. Text transcripts provided by Take One Transcription. Our producer is Serena Catania. Our engineering team is led by Megan Paulos, includes Alexia Chalita, Ed Golia, and Brianna Murphy. On behalf of Mike Horton, my name is Larry Jordan, and thanks for listening to The BuZZ.
The Digital Production Buzz was brought to you by Blackmagic Design, creators of the world's highest quality solutions for the feature film, post-production, and television broadcast industries. And by Shutterstock.com, a global marketplace for royalty-free images and videos. With over 2 million royalty-free HD and 4K video clips, Shutterstock helps you take your creative projects to the next level. And by Otherworld Computing, providing quality hardware solutions and extensive technical support to the worldwide computer industry since 1988.